All right, I think we are live. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA show. And Strickland's burner is on there, and he's talking about what's it called? Who's he talking about? Oh, Blanchfield versus Tina. Today we're gonna have a pretty quick show. We're gonna talk about two things in particular. One, which Justin has some cool information regarding the Ultimate Fighter, but we wanted to start today by talking about this amazing fight coming up this Saturday, Jon Jones versus Cyril Gane. So I don't know about you, but I mean, in about 2 weeks, I've been just so excited. I've been rewatching a bunch of old footage of Jon Jones, both at press conferences. There's this really cool video I found where it says like Jon Jones is actually a good smack talker or whatever. And so it goes through him talking smack to like Gustafsson, obviously DC and all that stuff. And it got me even more excited for the fight. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this entire thing. The whole thing is so fascinating. So, like, where do you stand right now on the matchup? I know you mentioned when we did the show with Jesse, you were, I think, favoring Jones. Like, still feeling the same way, and if so, why?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, this is a great comeback fight for Jones. Gane is an incredible fighter. He has incredible footwork. But with that being said, you know, Francis Ngannou paved the way. He showed the way of how to beat this guy. And, you know, with Jon Jones going up, now we have to look at our pros and cons of this. Right on paper, right out the gate, I feel that Jon Jones should be the favorite of this fight. I think he's going to have superior wrestling to Gane. He has a significant more amount of cage experience. So, you know, when I look at it on paper, I feel he should be the favorite and he should win this fight pretty handily. But we look at the other side. He's gained like 60 pounds in the last year. He looks like a mountain. How is he gonna manage that weight? How's his gas tank gonna hold up with Gane putting a pace on him? I mean, those questions will be answered obviously the night of the fight. But for right now, you know, I'm leaning towards Jon Jones, arguably one of the greatest fighters ever. I think he's going to have a great comeback fight. I think the UFC lined this fight up for his favor because of his wrestling background, for how incredible of a wrestler he is. I think he's going to take Gane down. And as long as he doesn't gas out and he has good gas tank management, it's going to be a one-sided affair all night.
He's been training with Henry Cejudo, and I think I heard recently he just went down to train with him very recently for like a week straight, something like that. What do you think about that combination of training? And obviously Henry is a master when it comes to wrestling, he's gold medalist. Like, what do you think? Does that indicate to you anything about the potential game plan, or is that just one more, he's just sharpening his tools as always?
Yeah, I mean, Henry Cejudo, again, one of the greatest of all time. We have an all-time great going to train with an all-time great. I can't see anything wrong. Now, the only you know downside to it is the size difference. Obviously, Henry Cejudo is like 5 feet tall, and I'm not really sure how Jones is, but I know he's a lot taller than 5 feet. So I can't really see how they're going to be working together, like with training partners, unless Henry's coaching him, getting into certain situations. Yeah, getting into certain situations, walking him through, helping him. But I mean. It definitely shows what the game plan looks to be. It looks like, and if Jon Jones is smart, that's what he's going to do. He's going to take it down, grind him, and try to break him in the later rounds. But again, can that gas tank hold up? And I don't think it's worth putting money on Gane to find out. But yeah, I definitely think he's going to try and wrestle, and I'm going to expect he's going to be in shape.
So this last fight, the other question I have too is like you talk about Gane, his coach has talked about what just how brilliant he is in terms of absorbing this new sport. He used to be a kickboxer, and then he's come over. So there's been quite a bit of time from the last Francis fight, and I know you have a wrestling background, but like from your experience, somebody like Gane in what it's been almost a year, so it's been quite some time. How much do you think he would be able to grow as a wrestler in that time frame from the last fight from Ngannou to now?
I mean, unfortunately, the question of how much could he grow, it really just all depends on him. There's not a correct answer. Is he grappling 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 5 days a week, every day? You know, unfortunately, it's funny because I was having a discussion at the gym with my head coach, Dennis Davis, this morning about when guys are good at something, they want to stay good at it. So, for instance, I was a good wrestler. So I knew I was a shitty boxer. So I'd just start training boxing. A lot of guys, especially at the higher levels, don't like to deal with that uncomfortability of trying something new. So like if you're a good striker, you're going to continue to work on your striking. It's the guys that can adapt. So to answer your question, he could gain leaps and bounds because Jon Jones probably isn't wrestling 5 or 6 days a week. He's going to rely on his experience and knowledge of the sport to hold on. If he's doing 1 or 2 days a week, that would make sense. Now, if Ciryl Gane really wants to pick up, he's really going to have to put in 4 or 5 days a week. But is he doing that? We don't know. I don't know Ciryl Gane. I don't know his training regimen. I know he's an incredible kickboxer. I really hope that he doesn't try to make this kickboxing match because I really think Jon Jones is going to be trying to take him down and beat him up.
The last thing I wanted to ask you about this fight, the other element, I think like a lot of people haven't really been talking about it. It's been some time, but there was obviously a lot of stuff that happened in Jon Jones's personal life, something, that was pretty traumatizing. I believe him and his fiance have since split up as well. If I remember correctly, he had tweeted about it or mentioned about it at one point, like 6 or 8 months ago. What are your thoughts on this from a fighter perspective, going through a major change, potentially a split, a separation, all this stuff, all that, like, how do you think these types of things will impact him?
Well, honestly, it could go either way. It could go good. It could go bad. It depends. Was it a good split? This split could have been a weight off his shoulders. He might feel more free now. I've had breakups in the middle of fight camps to where it's like, wow, now I don't have to deal with that. Now I can really focus on training. I can really focus on what I need to do instead of trying to appease your significant other. That's why being a fighter is so tough, and being in a relationship as a fighter is even tougher because you have to be selfish. And I'm sure that was, a combat in that relationship. And now, he might feel it's a weight off his shoulders. Like, hey, he doesn't have to worry about her. He doesn't have to worry about that situation anymore. He can just focus on winning and focus on training.
Yeah. And I think we can all sort of relate to that idea. And also too, sometimes I think different people respond differently. Like when you're feeling down, perhaps that can be a motivator. That can be some sort of energy that can push you in the right direction too, or a better direction. So, that's really interesting. Yeah, I've been rewatching so much of the old footage and even like Jon Jones's creativity and striking, though. Like you said, I think if he does go with the wrestle heavy strategy, we might not see that, but it's just so fascinating. So I can't wait. All right, and we're going to be talking more about this fight throughout the week, and of course next week as we get closer and closer. And I really, really hope, because there's still no interviews of Jon Jones. I haven't seen one. Haven't seen him sit down with anybody. So I cannot wait. I hope he sits down with Ariel, some other people, and we can talk about that, see more of his mindset. The next thing we wanted to talk about today in our quick show is Conor on TUF, right? And so this is the Conor versus Chandler on TUF, but in particular, there's been some basically like tweets that have gone out by one of your buddies in particular relating to guys that have been removed from TUF. So like, yeah, Justin, I don't know what you're allowed to talk about here, but yeah, like what's going on from your perspective?
This situation, I'm just gonna be frank with it. It makes me sick. So last week, the guys were being I can't mention any names, but the competitors were being held in Vegas at a hotel for a certain amount of days as they're getting the house ready and so on and so forth. Well, now these guys are in the hotel. Conor decides to be late. Now they're held in the hotel for 5 more days. They had coaches like me go down there and give the guys a workout, hold mitts for them. I do 30 minutes with each guy. Now, after spending 30, it's just a one-on-one. It'd be like me and you. We do mitts for 30 minutes. We talk about life. We talk about blah, blah, blah in the UFC and so on and so forth. And a lot of these prospects that haven't been in the UFC are looking to me for, for advice, essentially, what to expect in the UFC. I could tell they're hungry. I could tell they're happy. Now, there's a couple of guys that I got to work with that, they were crying during our sessions with over excitement of this opportunity that they have. I can't mention particular names, but one person like, I'm here to change my life. I'm here to change my family's life. I'm here to change my kid's life. And now that opportunity's gone because this guy thinks that he's entitled to pick and choose. I don't know if he pick or choose or the show pick or choose who is cut, but I will mention one name, Kenny Cross from Michigan. I'm from Michigan. I can relate. I've trained with Kenny in Michigan. Hell, I trained with Kenny this morning at 9 a.m. He was cut from the show as well. Like, he came to Vegas. He's here to be a part of the show. And I guess it's just not his day or his year, unfortunately. And I'm disgusted with it, man. Like, these opportunities are once in a lifetime opportunities. These kids are winning the lottery by punching this ticket to get on The Ultimate Fighter. And just because Conor McGregor, who he is, it is. I mean, it really sucks. And I'm not exactly sure what Chris Curtis tweeted, but if he's disgusted with it, I'm sure I agree with him 100%.
Yeah, so and how did you find out about these guys being cut? Like in particular, you said the guy from Michigan. How did you find out, or did you hear from him directly?
Well, one of the guys that I held mitts for, we followed each other on Instagram, and I was wishing him luck because I just really vibed with him really well. I never met him before, and we just vibed and we clicked right away. He was very respectful. He wanted as much advice I could give. So even the next day, he was sending me messages asking for advice and shit. And then I'm scrolling through Instagram either yesterday or the day before, and he has this sad post, sorry, letting everybody down. And I'm assuming he got injured. So I look into it, and he says at the bottom of the post that, Conor's guys came and kicked him off.
My God. So do you, I don't know how much information you have on this one, but like for the guys that got removed from the show, is there any follow-up opportunities? Are they going to get a chance to be on the Contender Series? Have you heard anything like that, or are they at this point just out?
I would expect them to get a chance. So I don't know for sure. I haven't heard anything. But I mean, I would like to think that the UFC is going to say, all right, hey, we dick these guys around a little bit. Let's give them a fair shake on the Ultimate Fighter. But with that being said, Ken Cross has already been on not the Ultimate Fighter, Dana White, the Contender Series. He's already been there. Like this was his opportunity. So, I know all the guys that got cut, I'm pretty sure are still alternates. If someone misses weight or something, but honestly, a lot of these guys aren't going to miss weight, man. They're coming in, like the guys that I worked with, most of them were in fantastic shape. Their weight was within range. I'd really like to see the UFC do something to make it up for this stuff. But as of right now, I'm unaware of anything that they plan to do.
Dang, that's crazy. And then in terms of, so then these guys are out, and then just out of curiosity, are you planning to still participate more, do any more mitt work at the Ultimate Fighter House?
So as of right now, no. It just was a gig. I went to it wasn't on TV or anything. It was just I went to the hotel and held for him. Joey Varner, shout out to Joey Varner, hooking me up with the gig. I mean, if they call me, hell yeah, I'd love to, man. I love going down there and chopping up with the guys. I think this Ultimate Fighter is very, very interesting. They're taking guys like me that, had a rough run in the UFC and giving them another shot. With that being said, the opposition is the guys that's never been in the UFC, man. And, this would have been an incredible opportunity for myself. So I can imagine how these guys feel, because most of these guys, just like me, had a losing record in the UFC, like 1-3, 2-4. And I know there's some really tough guys, and I can't wait to see, some friends of mine, and I keep stuttering because I keep almost mentioning their names, and I can't do it because it's classified. But I'm really excited to see what these vets are going to do there, because this is essentially their last chance. Some of these guys are in their mid to late 30s, and they know it's their last chance. With that being said, they've been there, they've done that. They got a hungry up and comer, and I tell you what, those up and comers are hungry too, man. And I tell you what, all the guys I held mitts for are tough, and they are ready to fight. And they don't care if they're going against a vet or another up and comer. They're ready to bang.
By the way, Strickland's burner, that's the guy's name. I assume he's referring to his name is referring to Sean Strickland. And we were just chatting before. Justin just saw Sean. He trains with him at Extreme Couture. You probably know that if you saw the last stream. But anyways, he asked, did you see Conor? I know the answer, obviously, but I believe you did not, right? Because you held mitts prior to Conor arriving.
Yeah, so no, I didn't see Conor. They had me come in because Conor delayed the show. They were supposed to move in. I don't remember the exact day. They were supposed to move in a couple days prior. Then they called me and they're like, hey, look, like Conor's running late, I guess, and we need some people to hold mitts. That's not exactly how the conversation went. But when I'm holding for the fighters, when they were talking about being held in the hotel for another week, they expressed to me that they assumed it was because Conor McGregor was taking his sweet ass time.
Now, last thing I want to ask, I'm just curious, because one of the things that I love so much about the sport is the fighter mentality and the toughness and the grit and all these things. And then I see so much loyalty being displayed, like just all these really good values that I think fighters really have to prioritize and champion in order to be successful. So like I did have a question from the fighter perspective on this Conor McGregor story of having fighters dropped off. Like if you were in his situation, let's say, or other fighters that you train with, or like, what do you think if you had like one of your boys or even like a family member or something that you really wanted to help out, would you ever play that card and be like, hey guys, I want to I wanted my people to be honored. Like, what's your perspective on that? Because I imagine it's tough for him. There's a lot of people that he's loyal to, right?
Well, I mean, there's so many different ways you could have handled this. Why is he doing it the week before they go in the house? This should have been discussed months ago. He wanted his guys. If he want, like, that's. I mean, there's sometimes it's just too little, too late, man. Like, hey, Zuffa, you want to be in the TUF house? Sorry, like, we should have talked about it fucking 3 months ago. Why are we talking about it the week before people move in?
That's
fair. He could have hit Dana White up like, hey, look, I will be a coach under this condition. These are my 3 guys. I want them in the house. All right, done. Now nobody, because you got to think about like Ken Cross, for instance. He at the pinnacle in his head. All right, I'm going to the TUF house. I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm changing my family's life. I'm changing my life. And then wakes up. Oh, sorry. No, I'm not. Like, I can't imagine the emotional swing there. And, that's one. I don't know Conor, and I'm sure he's a great guy. Like, I'm sure I'd love to hang out with him. I'd love to party with him. I have nothing bad to say about the guy. He's never done me wrong. Yeah. But I think this is kind of Bush League on his part. Like I said, if he wanted, I mean, it's not like the coaches were announced. How long ago were the coaches announced? Prior to that, these guys knew that they were going to be coaching before the announcement. Like the fighters always know beforehand, before the public announcement. I always knew about my fight. I always knew when my fights were going to happen before the public knew. So now we're talking about something that's planned in advance. Hey, Conor, we want you to be a coach. All right, well, here's my stipulations, and that's how it should have been handled. And that's how I would handle it.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's such a bummer. And then hopefully too, we'll jump on this, guys, and talk more about it later in the week, as I'm sure the story is still, to some degree developing, and maybe you'll get another chance to do some mitt work or other things at the house. But that's it for our discussion today. We just want to touch on these 2 topics. There's so many things happening. I mean, there's crazy stuff on this card. Like, I didn't even realize Shavkat Rakhmonov is going to be on the main card at the Jon Jones fight, which is incredible. We're going to watch some footage of his fights and talk about him, because I was watching some highlights. Like, he is just so crazy. And I want to get Justin's take on his striking and his grappling. And he's unbelievable. So much to talk about. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you haven't subscribed yet, we're growing. We're still a baby channel, but if you could subscribe, that would really, really help us out a lot. And that's it. And we will see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.